Hello, welcome to the Shepherd Staff Introduction to Shepherd's. Let me do that one more time. Hello, welcome to the Shepherd Staff 2017 Introduction to New Features webinar. Hi, my name is Rod Kiles and I am the Customer Onboarding Specialist for Concordia Technology Solutions. You can reach me one of two ways. You can reach me at rod.kiles@cph.org. And you can also reach me by phone at 314-268-1315. All the phones and microphones have been muted, and I please ask that you type any questions you have into the question window. I will answer all the questions that you have at the end of the session. Promise to do that. So this session we're going to focus on teaching everybody how to upgrade to the latest version and talk about all the little nuances around this new release. So we're going to start out with, of course, Shepherd Staff 2017. Before we install anything, the first thing we want to do is back up. We have tested the software for hundreds of hours over the last 6 months and feel confident that things are going to go well. But even with the amount of testing that we do, sometimes bugs do slip through the cracks. So please back up just in case something goes awry. You'll be able to restore that backup. After that, we will show installing the software. So we'll walk you through that process and talk about the different nuances and steps you should take during the installation. Then we will open up the software and we'll jump right into WebTools. So WebTools is the major new feature for this release. And with WebTools, you will need to register your database if you decide to take advantage of the online web tools, which are pretty awesome. We're all really excited about it. We'll talk about syncing your database to the web, because with web tools you'll be able to enter your attendance online and you'll be able to enter your offerings online. Currently you cannot enter membership information, but we're definitely taking feedback, and if that's something that people may want to do, then that's something we'll work towards. So you can definitely send in feedback and we'll do our best to implement things that make sense. After web tools, we're going to show subgroups, and actually the majority of this webinar is web tools. So the timing on the webinar so far, I've been about 60 to 65 minutes with talk, and then after that I answer all the questions. So I'm running just a little bit longer than an hour with all of the material. So with subgroups though, subgroups we're going to talk about the redesign on subgroups, and we're going to talk about the new workflow. So we'll show you how to create subgroups and also show you how to use the new categories feature. So I'm really excited about categories. I think that's pretty awesome. After that, we'll actually stay in the membership module, and we'll show you the graduate date that's been added to each one of the person records, and we'll show you the LCMS youth list report as well. We'll also show you the changes that they've made to the ELCA report. From there, we'll switch over to contributions, where we will talk about the modification to the contributions funds grid there, fund records grid. And we'll also talk about the changes that have been made to contribution statements. Then we'll go into attendance, and I'll probably switch attendance and contributions. I'll talk about attendance first, then I'll talk about contributions. But we'll talk about the attendance by event report. There's been quite a few enhancements to that report, making it more powerful. And then there's been a single change to the absentee report and the attendance comparison report. So we'll discuss both of those changes. Okay, so overview continued. We'll, once we're done with contributions, of course, next would be finance, where we'll talk about some button changes in the accounts tree. We'll show the account grouping. There's been a change to allow you to easily switch between different account groups. So that's quite powerful. Then we'll talk about the journal register report, and we'll talk about the new help system. So once we're done with the help system, that'll be somewhere around the hour 5-minute mark. Then we'll have our question and answer session, where any questions that you post in the question box that's typically located on the right-hand side of your screen, I will answer those. So I'm excited. If you're ready, I'm ready. Let's get started. So I'm going to go ahead and switch screens and switch over to Shepherd Staff. And everybody should have a Shepherd Staff screen just like this one. There'll be a stained glass in the background, and then you'll have a login screen. Each person who logs into the software will have their own username and password, and of course we encourage everybody to, we encourage every administrator to give each user a different username and password. So you should not use community logins or anything like that. So sysadmin, then I'll type in my password. You'll notice at the bottom of the login screen it says version 8.3 with feature pack 2E. People who are upgrading, they'll be upgrading from 8.3 to 8.4, and over the last year you may have downloaded and installed one of the feature packs. A common question is, what is a feature pack? It's a combination of bug fixes and new enhancements. So when you install a feature pack, you get two types of changes to your software. We'll fix software bugs and we'll enhance or improve the program in some way. To the right of that, there's a little check for program updates. Anytime you log in, you can check for program updates. And we're going to be installing the most recent one here in a couple minutes. We'll just be backing up first. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK here on the right-hand side and log in. That'll take me into the software. You'll also notice the version of the software down at the bottom of the screen as well. So it'll say version 8.3 feature pack 2E, and then it has the release date in reverse order. Well, not really reverse order. It has the release date, year, month, day. So 2016, November 11th. So I'm going to go to Utilities, then I'm going to go to Backup. And before upgrading, you definitely want to back up. You only have to back up on one machine. Backing up on that machine will back up all of the data inside of the database. So I'm going to back up, but I'm not going to back up to my C drive. We really advise backing up to something that's not your local computer, your local hard drive. So if you back up to the local machine and this hard drive fails and you lost the database and you lost the backup. So please back up to a network drive, to a server, flash drive, external hard drive, DVD or CD, something that can be taken away from the computer in case something happens to the PC. So I'm going to select the P drive, which is my network drive here at CPH. And underneath comments, I'm going to say back up prior to upgrade to 8.4 upgrade. Okay. Okay, then from there I would actually click Start Backup. You do not want to check out Finance when this process takes place. The reason being, if you check out Finance, that puts a bright red black background in Finance. Anytime you back up, it does back up everything. So it backs up membership, attendance, contribution, finance, scheduler, everything inside of the database. So I'm going to start backup. It's going to give me two messages. The first message is going to let me know what's going to be backed up and it's going to let me know what's not going to be backed up. So backup only backs up your current database. So if you're using more than one database, say you have a sister church or a mission church, or you have a removed members database or a visitors database, you have some separate database. That database will not be backed up with this. You'll need to switch over to that database and then back up that one separately. Also, statement number 2, backup will not back up any attachments or photographs. So if you attach documents to your person records, or if you attach photographs to your person or household records, then you would need to back up that information separately. That information is stored inside the database folder, and you would need to back that up to flash drive, external hard drive, CD, DVD, however you'd like to back that information up. So I'm going to click OK, then I'll get the next message. A backup already exists on P drive or in my P drive. So do you want to archive this backup? I'm going to say yes. When you receive that message, please say yes. It gives you more than one backup. Instead of just having the one backup that you're writing over, you archive, you'll have 15 backups, 20 backups, 100 backups, and you can go back at a point in time. Instead of only having one backup where you can't go back at a point in time, you can only go back to that most recent backup. So backup was successful. I'll click OK, and I've now backed up. So the data is backed up. The next step is to install the software. Now, the software, from my understanding, has been mailed out, so churches should start receiving those if you haven't received it already. And they usually say give it 2 or 3 weeks from the time that it's been mailed. So from my understanding, it was supposed to mail out last week, so we still have a little bit of time, but most people should be receiving those. If you don't receive it in 2 to 3 weeks, give us a call and we'll look into it and mail you out another one. So also, if you don't receive it, you can give us a call here at the help desk and we can connect your computer and transfer the software over. You could also say if you just wanted to download it today, you could give us a call and we can transfer it over and install on your machines today as well. So I'm going to go ahead and close Shepherd Staff and switch screens. And my computer no longer has a CD-ROM drive, so I'm actually going to install from a network location. If you have a CD-ROM drive, you'll just insert the disk in the CD-ROM. The auto run will start running, and you will run the setup.exe, the one that's titled application. And I would say this process applies if you if the auto run did not run. You would then go into the CD-ROM drive or DVD-ROM and start the executable running. So I'm going to double click on setup.exe and give it just a second and it's going to start running. Now, when you upgrade your machines, you want to make note of or be aware of whether or not you have or whether or not you are on a network or not. So if you're in a situation where you have multiple computers running Shepherd Staff, you want to make sure that everybody's closed out of Shepherd Staff, and you want to start your installation on the server machine. Now, when you go through your upgrade process, you are going to need to upgrade all of the machines on the network. So if you have one computer, you'll install and upgrade on that one computer. If you have 10 computers and you upgrade on one of them, then you'll need to upgrade the other 9 before they can be used. So if you upgrade 7 of them, those other 3 that are not upgraded before those people will be able to use those machines, you will need to upgrade those machines as well. So that might be something, if you have a lot of computers, you want to set aside a couple hours to go ahead and get those upgraded. When the software comes up, it's going to state, welcome to Install Shield Wizard for Shepherd Staff, and it's going to talk about the version. So it'll say the Install Shield Wizard will update the installed version 8.3 of Shepherd Staff to version 8.4. And when you're installing the new version, it really deletes the old version and puts the new executables, the new RPT files, the new DLLs. It puts all of those files in its place. So I'm going to go ahead and click Next and start the installation process. And if you look closely, when the words are running across the screen, you'll actually see the different executables and DLLs and things like that show on the screen. It's pretty neat. Now, when you upgrade to a new version, there's actually 2 things that are being upgraded. All of the executables, DLLs, RPT files, OCXs, all of those files are being updated, but also the database is being updated. And when you go through the upgrade, you'll need to upgrade each machine. The database will just update or be upgraded or updated that one time. So when the first time you open up Shepherd Staff version 8.4, it'll actually open up and update the database to the 8.4 version, and then it won't be updated or upgraded again. So, and I really should use the word upgrade for the database because it's something to where it's adding in additional tables and additional fields, so it's actually being changed. So at this point, the update is complete, so I'll click Finish. And one thing I want to note prior to actually opening the Shepherd Staff software again, the database being upgraded happens really quick, and you'll notice a little green bar run across the bottom of the screen, and it may take a second, second and a half, and it's all the way across. And that's the actual database updating. So I'm going to open up Shepherd Staff, And if you look closely, and it's now actually gone. So that's how quickly the database updates. And once we're here on our login screen, you'll notice at the bottom of the screen it says version 8.4. So we are on the new version, and we're ready to open the software, log in, and get started. One question that is always asked is, do I need to wait to close the year before installing the new software? And the actual answer is no, since everything is date and time stamped. You can upgrade to the latest version of Shepherd Staff prior to closing out the year. So if you decide to do that, that's perfectly fine. There's some people who always hold off. That's the way they've always done it. That's the way they continue to do it. But it's not required. It doesn't break any rules. It doesn't damage the database. It's strictly a personal preference. If you choose to update or upgrade prior to closing out the finance year, closing out the software for the prior year. So when you are here on your Shepherd Staff login screen, you're still going to have a username and password. Depending on what version you're on before, there'll now be a switch button that allows you to switch to a different database. So for those churches that have more than one database, you'll be able to switch to the new database. And then there's going to be a little block that says your CTS account is not yet registered. So those that want to take advantage of the WebTools to be able to enter attendance and offerings online, you'll be able to do so. So I'm going to go ahead and type in my username and password. Now, we are suggesting that people make sure that their usernames and passwords are unique, and if you're using the default username and password for Shepherd Staff to log in, so if you're using sysadmin and the default password, please update that, because going forward, we expect most churches that have people who work from home for periods of time, that they'll want to use the WebTools, they'll want to enter attendance and offerings from home. You will actually use your username and passwords from Shepherd Staff. So it's going to be the same. It's going to be the same information for logging in, and those logins control what you can do in the software. So you'll want to use that information. So using good passwords makes a lot of sense. Having passwords that, let me switch that screen back there. Having passwords that are 8 digits or longer, they have a capital, they have a symbol in it, they have a number in it, all that stuff makes sense. It's good policy, it's good practice. So, okay, so let's go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and log in, and I'm going to check the box that says register after login. So click OK, and then that's going to take me into the software. At this point in time, it'll take me to the web tab, and you can access this exact same page by going to utilities and going to settings. So this screen is the system settings page, and it's on the web tab. Now on this tab, to go ahead and register your database, which is our first step to get going with the WebTools, is to find our account key. Now, the account key is going to be a generated key that's unique for your church. And I'm going to click on Get Key so that we can acquire that account key. And I'm going to type in your CPH account number. And the one that I'm going to use is a test account here, but each church has their own 8-digit CPH account number. Please do not confuse this number with your 2, 3, 4, or 5-digit support ID. They are not the same thing. The 8-digit CPH account number is going to be your church account number, the one with CPH. So everybody has one. You may just not know what it is. If you don't know what it is, please feel free to give us a call at 1-800-346-6120, and we'll help you out with that information. So you're going to need 2 pieces of information. So we'll need the CPH account number, and you'll need the last invoice number. And with that invoice number, it's going to be on your last invoice or order. And from there, you can type the number in. And if you don't have the invoice number, we can provide that as well. So that's not a problem. So I'm going to type in that information and click continue. Then it's going to take just a second. It'll get the key, and it'll put that key directly into the system. Then at this point, the next thing we will want to consider is whether or not we want to sync our data with the web servers. So basically you're taking certain pieces of information from your database and you're syncing those to the web. Now it doesn't sync everything by any means, but it syncs the different pieces of data that you would need to be able to enter attendance and offerings online. And I'm going to go through those different pieces of information right now. So with that data, of course, it's going to sync your church name, city, state, zip. It's going to pass information over so that we know that this is your church. It's also going to pass over the account key and the database key. So it's going to pass all that information over. From there, it's going to pass over your login information. Since these are going to be secure websites, and it's going to be a unique website for each church that wants to enter attendance and offerings online. So we're going to need your usernames and passwords to do so. So that information is going to be passed to the web. It's going to pass the username, the password, and the permission levels. All three of those pieces of information. And if the person doesn't have the right permission level, then they're not going to be able to enter attendance or offerings on site, on the website. Then the next type of information that they're going to pass over is going to be your person and household names. So whenever you're entering attendance, you need to be able to see their name and see that they're grouped together by household, see the family. So that information is going to be passed. It's not going to pass any contact information. So no phone numbers, email addresses, birthdays, none of that's going to be passed to the web. It's just name information, really. So first name, last name, that type of information. Concerning the attendance and offerings, there's a small amount of data that's being passed from those modules. When it comes to attendance, we need to pass the event names, the event types, and who's part of those events, so we pass over the enrollees. And with offerings, with contributions, we pass over the fund names, the envelope numbers, and the envelope name. So it's really just bare minimum information to get the job done. That's all the information that we're passing. So I'm going to say yes, yes, and then once I click yes, that's going to start the sync process, and the sync process doesn't take too long. It's actually just going to push the information that we need to be able to enter the attendance and offerings. Now, here on the right-hand side, once the sync is finished, it's going to say that it's finished. Then there's going to be a series of radio buttons that allow you to manage your database that's been pushed to the web. So at this point, you can check support and check your database status. So it's going to tell you whether or not you're active. And if it's active, then you'll be able to enter attendance and offerings online. Now, to be active, you have to have an active support contract. If you don't have an active support contract, you won't be able to use the WebTools. And the reason why they have that set up that way right now is we had to purchase the use of Microsoft Azure, A-Z-U-R-E, Azure. So that costs money, so we figured, hey, supported customers are helping to support that usage, so those will be the people who can access this online and enter attendance and offerings from home. Below that, there's going to be activate this database. If the database doesn't show that it's active, you can click on the database or click on activate this database, click go, and it'll make sure to activate this database. You can have up to 3 active databases at any time. If you need more, please give us a call, but we think in most cases, most churches don't have more than 3 databases that they'll ever be using. If at some point you decide not to continue to use WebTools and to enter attendance and offerings online, you can deactivate the database by selecting that option, clicking on go, and it will become deactive at that time. So I'm going to go back and activate it so that we can demonstrate how to use the software. Then below that, there's going to be refresh web data and sync this database with the web. They sound very similar, and they do somewhat similar things, but there's a distinction between the two. If you refresh your web data, you're actually resending all those things that I mentioned before. So you're wiping your data from the site and you're resending church information, you're resending your user permissions, the people, you're resending your attendance and offering information. So you're just resending those things that you need to be able to enter attendance and offerings. If you do sync, then sync is just going to enter in, it's just going to push the changes that you've made in Shepherd staff that you would need to enter attendance and offerings on the site. So if you made name changes or you made event changes, um, those types of changes would then appear on the website. So you can pick either of those two, whichever one applies to your situation. So then, once we've kind of reviewed that, then back here on the right-hand side, we'll see the account key, the database key. The account key is unique for your account. The database key is unique for your single database. You'll see your CTS support ID, and you'll see where it says web link. Now this web link address is unique to each church, and you'll have two options. There's a copy the link to the Windows clipboard, so you can copy and email that to somebody. So say somebody wanted to work at home, they know their Shepherd staff username and password, you could email them this link, then they'd be able to access the web tools and work from home. Then to the right of that, there's a globe, and this says go to a website. So if I click on that little globe, it's actually going to pass the web link over to my web browser, where then at that point I can go through the process of logging in and entering in attendance. And you may notice here at the top in our address bar that the AFE483 is showing. That's part of your account key. And you'll also see your church name here at the upper right, so Christ Community Church. So I'm going to type in my user ID, which is going to come from Shepherd staff, and type in my password, which comes from Shepherd staff as well. Then at this point, I will click Sign In, and that will allow me to sign into WebTools. So when I'm working with WebTools, at the top you'll notice how it says attendance batches and attendance batches and offering batches. So I'll be able to see those two tabs, and going between those tabs will allow me to enter in attendance batches and enter in offering batches. You'll also notice your church name here at the upper right, and you'll notice the sign out button, and it doesn't have an automatic timed out, so that's something that they may consider later on down the line. We've had mixed feedback about timeouts. So some people think that it's a requirement. Some people feel like it's a nuisance. It causes them to have to, state that they're still signed in, or they get logged out, then they have to sign back in. So we'd love to hear from people on that and get more feedback of what direction to go on there. And now, attendance batches, offering batches. This here is a demo site, so myself and other people have been playing with it. But when I'm on attendance batches, this will allow me to create and enter attendance on the web. So I'm going to delete this batch here by using the little trash can on the right-hand side, kind of clean up my workspace. And when I get ready to enter attendance on the web, the screen's going to look just like this. And I'm going to say add batch. That's going to take me to this add batch window where I can select the date and where I can select my event. And these events are going to be the events from our Shepherd staff database. So I'm going to select traditional worship. So this whole simulation is like if I was entering attendance for last Sunday, the 22nd. Then I'd click continue. And once I click continue, it's going to take me into a batch entry window. And the top will be the name of the event. There'll be today's date. I can use type to filter, and I'm going to type in Abbott here. Press enter to filter the results that I'm seeing inside the list. I'm going to click X and the magnifying glass to return all my results. There's also the filters like members, enrollees, Sunday school grades, and non-members. And each one of these will filter based on that criteria. So members is only going to show members. Enrollees will show me the people enrolled to this traditional worship event. Sunday school grade will just show me Sunday school students, and there's an additional filter down here where I can select the people that I want for a certain grade. So these are all the people in first grade. Then to the right of that, there's non-members, which will just show me non-members. So I'm going to go back to all people. Then from there, I can use the add household button or add a person button to this batch. So if I want to select the whole family, so David, Susan, Jacob, and Lacey all made it to service on Sunday, I can click on the add household button here. Then that will select those individuals, the household in those individuals. Then you'll notice how they're missing here from this window. And I'm going to scroll down to the bottom, and then I'll see those names, and they are now selected. So we have 4 people who attended traditional worship. You can also use the individual buttons for adding a person here, so or selecting a person. So say David was not able to make it, but Shirley, Jeffrey, and Natalie did make it. So I can click on each one of their names, and let me scroll down, and it'll now show us their names down at the bottom. So there's one other thing to show in this view. It does show family, the person's name, the sex, sequence, or grade. But you'll also notice on the right-hand side that there's a V, and that V stands for visitor, and the little check lets you know that Barbara is a visitor. So if I wanted to mark that she attended, I can click on her name, and it would show that she attended. Then down at the bottom, these would be all of my attendees. Now, with Shepherd staff, you do have the ability to select attendance types. And inside of Shepherd staff, worship is going to be attendance type 1. Communion is going to be attendance type 2. Sunday school is going to be 3. Other 1 and other 2 are going to be 4 and 5. So by default, it selects them as communing and worshiping. If it turns out, for example, Jacob and Lacey are too young to commune, then you can uncheck and then click Save. So you can click the pencil to select to unlock their row, uncheck the box for communion, and then click the floppy disk to save that change. And then now we have the people who worshiped and the people who communed. Now, if you accidentally added somebody and didn't mean to, you can use the circle minus here on the right-hand side to delete that person from your batch. And I'm going to delete Natalie here. And then that would take her name off. So now I can go back and use the page, the pagination down at the bottom, and select the page that I wanted, and I could add in more people if I wanted to until I had completed the overall process. I can even add in notes if I need to. So I could say show notes, and if I had visitors who were not here in the list, I could say visitors Tom and Tammy Collins. And then I could click out and hide my notes, and then those notes would be passed over when we download this batch. So once I'm done, I can use the Save button here at the top, or I could use the Save button down here at the bottom. Either one would work, and that would save my batch. So I'm going to say Save Attendance Batch. Then at this point, you'll notice how the batch says it's open, and it says in process. So in process means that I'm working on it, and this batch cannot be downloaded to Shepherd staff at this point in time. So it's only accessible here in WebTools. So it's only accessible here on the website. So I'm going to go down to Shepherd staff and pull Shepherd staff back up. Then at this point, I'm going to go into the attendance module since we started out with attendance. And here in attendance, we're still going to be tied into batches. We're creating batches in WebTools, and those batches are going to be pulled down and put into our batch window. So to access batches, I usually use the letter B here at the top. So attendance batches. Then I'll pull that up. And from here, you'll notice we have a new icon here at the lower right-hand side. That icon says Import Batches from WebTools. So if I click on that link, it's going to pull up all the batches that can be downloaded. So you'll notice there aren't any in here right now. That's because, let me go back to the web, that's because our batch says it's in process. When we're ready to pass that batch down to Shepherd staff, we'll click in process, and the button will change from in process to ready. And then we can go back to attendance, and I'm going to close the import batch from WebTools button window, and then click the button and open it up again. Then I'll be able to see all the batches that are ready to be pulled down from WebTools into our attendance batch window. You'll notice on the left-hand side that there's a little checkbox, and you can check or uncheck that box depending on the situation. Since I want to download it, I'm going to check that box and say Import Batches, and then you'll kind of notice the processing down here at the lower left. When it's completed, it's going to say completed processing for batch number so-and-so. Number 7 in our scenario. So we've completed that. We'll click close, and that batch is here inside the batch maintenance window. From there, I can double click on the batch, and I can make changes to the batch. Now, when you're using the WebTools and the batch entry there, that does not stop you from being able to enter batches or edit batches here inside of Shepherd staff. You can use either one. You can use both. You can, I guess exclusively use one over the other, but they don't block each other or anything like that. So once I reviewed them, if everything looked good, if I saw a mistake, say Glenn didn't really attend, I can use the new buttons that we have here in the middle. They've kind of changed the icons a little bit, so I could remove somebody if they didn't attend, or if I know somebody was missed, I could, add that person over. Then from there, click OK, and I would go through my normal posting process at that point in time. So I'd click on Post. It's going to warn me, are you sure you want to post batch number 7? Yeah, I'm sure. Then I can say date Sunday, or I review, make sure date Sunday, January 22nd, 2017, and our event is traditional. I'd say yes, the batch was successfully posted, and I'd click OK. And that batch now shows underneath our attendance records. So if I go to the A here at the top, or if I went to records and attendance records, I'd be able to see that attendance here inside of the grid. So I'm going to click on date and click on sort down here, then scroll to the bottom of the grid where I can see that attendance from the 22nd of January. Okay, so that's how you will enter attendance on the web if you choose to do so. So then from here, let's go back to the web and show the same process for entering in our offerings. So you'll actually see that the batch is still here and it says ready. If I click on the ready button, the batch will actually disappear. And if you refreshed your screen, the same thing would happen. So at this point, we can now go to offering batches, and I'm going to delete these couple of batches here to clean up my workspace. And I'm going to click on the Add Batch window. Now this process is very similar to entering in attendance. We're going to select the date here on the left-hand side, but there's no additional event or anything like that. I would then click Continue, and at this point I'd be able to go into here and actually enter my offerings into the system. So I'll verify my date. There is a new feature here that's really neat, Repeat the, and it allows you to repeat fund, amount, check number, or description. So if you sort your envelopes and you put all the ones from the same fund together, you could say, hey, I want to repeat the last fund. Or if there are certain amounts that you want to repeat, you can do that as well. Okay, so and you can also do check number and description. So at this point, I can search by name or envelope number. So I'm going to use Abbott since they're here at the top of the list. And I can press enter, and it'll filter my list and take me to Dave and Sue Abbott. I can then select the fund that I want to use, type in the amount, and let's say they gave $10,000. Let's go big. So $10,000, they wrote a check, 1, 2, 3, 4, and if I had a special description, I could fill in that information. Then I can click Add, and it will add that offering record down here at the bottom. And whenever I click Add, it's automatically going to add that information and save it. So if my computer's shut down right now or crashed right now, we would have this batch. It's saved, and you could go to another computer, pull it up, and post this batch. So it does save instantly. Then below that, then I can go, it's really rinse and repeat at that point. Then I can select the next person. So I could take out the number, and I could search by number 102, select Sally Baxter. It's repeating my last fund, so that's general fund, and say she gave $5,000. Then click Add. Now, currently the system does not do split offerings, so if Sally gave to more than one fund, I'd have to enter in a second row. So I could say that she gave to the general fund, and I could say that she gave to the building fund. Then click Add. Okay, and let me add at least one more. So 103, enter. Let's say church at large, and say that's $1,000, and click Add. So then that would enter in my offerings. Now, it has the ability to edit those offering records and delete those offering records, just like when we were in the batch entry for attendance. So I can click on the little pencil and say this was really $1,500. I can type in that amount, add in a check number, add in the description, then go back here to the left and click on the floppy disk. That would save any of my changes. So then if I needed to add a note, I can say show notes, and I'm just going to say this is a note, exclamation point. Then click outside and hide the notes. Then that note will be passed down when we post this batch. Once I'm done entering in all of my offering records, then I'll click Save Offering Batch either here at the upper right or here at the lower left, and then it will save that batch. Then when I'm ready to download it to Shepherd Staff, I do need to once again switch from in process to ready by clicking on the button, and I'll go down to Shepherd Staff and open up the contributions module. And here in contributions, I'll go to B for batches, and I'll click on the little logo here at the lower right, import batches from WebTools. Then my batch will be there. I'll make sure that the batch, I guess, and only the batches that I want to pull down are checked. I'll click import batches. Wait for the processing to complete, click close, then I'll be able to see my batch. And once again, if I needed to make changes, I can double click on the batch to edit it. I can go in and delete rows or add additional rows, whatever I needed to do. I'd have full control of the batch once I was inside of Shepherd Staff. And one thing to note about the batch window, since I'm here, is they have a slight change that you may or may not have noticed. There's no sort button down at the bottom. So now when you want to sort, you'll actually click on the column headers and it'll sort inside the batch. Now that doesn't apply everywhere, but it does apply here. That's one of the enhancements that they've made. So I'm going to go ahead and close the batch, and I'm going to post the batch. Now when I get ready to post this batch, I'm going to receive a couple of messages, and I'm going to explain each one of the messages that I'm receiving. So when I go to post, it's going to bring up this posting window, and people who post batches have got to be familiar with this. You're about to post for Sunday, January 22nd, 2017. Is this the correct date? And yes, it is the correct date. If you post your offering batches and you go ahead and start your attendance batch, you can check the little box, and then that will allow you to do that. There's also create a deposit in finance, And lots of churches, when they post their offerings, they want it to automatically create the deposit and finance. So you do want to make sure this checkbox is selected and the appropriate date is selected. So if that deposit takes place on Sunday, select Sunday. If it takes place on Monday, select Monday, then click OK. Then you can click OK to post your batch. Now, I'm receiving this message, date discrepancy. The deposit date you have entered is outside the current finance year. Do you wish to post using this date? And I'm going to say yes. And the reason why it's saying it's outside the current finance year is because I haven't run the year end in the finance module yet. So since everything's date and time stamped, I'm going ahead and posting this won't be a problem because it's actually posting it into 2017. I'm going to answer yes. Batch 3 posting reports are available for printing. Please make sure your printer is ready, and it is. So it'll go through and print the summary report and print the detail report. Then it'll let me know whether or not it posted successfully. I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to click Close. Then if I go into Records and Offerings, I'll be able to sort this by date and scroll down to the bottom. And I'll be able to see those offering records that I created online and downloaded. So that's how you pull those offerings down into Shepherd Staff. So I'm going to go ahead and close the offering records grid. Now you may have noticed this new icon here at the upper middle, and with that icon, that's our new WebTools icon. And you'll notice how there's a little exclamation point inside of a triangle here at the upper left of that icon. That lets the user know that there's some changes inside the software that you may want to sync to the server. And if that's the case, you can click on the icon and simply click Sync. So it's going to show you your support ID or your CPH ID. The WebTools link, and you click Sync, and it'll quickly sync those changes. You can also go to the website and you can copy the hyperlink. So once the sync is done, if I close this, then the little triangle with the exclamation point will disappear, and I'm up to date. So let's go into membership now. So I'm going to open up the membership module. And inside the membership module, the first thing to show, or the primary thing to show really, is subgroups. So we've made a kind of like an overhaul to subgroups. So I'm going to close these open windows. And when I go to subgroups, I can use the word here in the menu bar. And I can also use the subgroups icon here if I wanted to. And inside the subgroups window, one of the things you'll notice is there's a new categories drop-down list. And categories allow you to group subgroups together. And the first thing I noticed was we have a ton of elder subgroups. So with all those subgroups, you may want to filter by a category called elder. And that's the example I'm going to show during this webinar. So I'm going to click on Add, and I'm going to add in a subgroup, and the subgroup I'm actually going to add is going to be tied to, or its purpose is going to be to find people who belong to a certain elder group who have not been attending. So I'm going to go to Dynamic and click OK. Then from there, I'm going to call this Elder Abbott's Absentees. And then for category, there's no categories in the drop list right now, but to add something to the drop list, like the, let me go back here, like the word elder, I'll type in elder and press tab, and it'll give me this message right here, add list item. Item elder is not in the list. Do you want to add it? Yes, I do. So I'll click yes, and then that will add elder to the drop list. So adding something to the drop list is as simply as pressing tab, and I'm going to add one, I'm going to add eldest, like I made a typo or something like that. Press tab and press yes. So if I have something in the drop list I want to get rid of, what I'll do is select that item from the drop list and deploy the drop list again. So I can see that item in the field and in the drop list. At that point, I'll take my hand off of the mouse and I'll press delete on the keyboard. That will allow me to delete that item from the drop list. So if I end up getting something into that drop list that I want to take out, I can clean it up. And the drop list controls work the same throughout the program. So if I had a removed by or received by term that I didn't need, or there was a mistake made in the participation drop list, I can clean those items up. So now you'll notice how the buttons are changed and the layout's a little different. To add a criteria line for a dynamic subgroup, you now use the add button here on the left-hand side. Then from there, they've now grouped the fields together by a category. So we're going to do elder, that's going to be the person assigned field underneath households. So my category would be households. I would select my operator equal to, then I'd say person assigned here underneath field, and I would say search this field person assigned for this value. And I'm going to say Dave Abbott. So I'm going to have all of the people assigned to Dave Abbott. Then I'm going to click continue. And from there, I'm going to add in one more line item. I'm going to click the add button. And this time, since we're trying to find people who have not been attending, I'm going to go to attendance. And I'm actually going to say greater than. So I'm going to say greater than this time frame. I want to find people who have not been attending. So the field that I'm going to select is last date type 1. So you may remember earlier I mentioned type 1 is worship, type 2 is communion, type 3 is Sunday school, type 4 is other 1, and type 5 is other 2. So if I want to find people who haven't attended in quite a while, haven't attended worship in quite a while, then I'm going to say attendance, then say greater than, and last date attended type 1 is greater than, and I could say 3 months ago, or I could say today, or first of the month, last of the month. I can select the different automatic selectors there. So I'm going to say 3 months ago, then click OK, and I'm going to click OK again. And I can fill in a description if I need to. So if there's more than one person using the software, I may want a description to pass on some extra nuances about the subgroup. So I'm going to click OK, and then I'll have my subgroup. I'm also going to add the Callaway subgroup to the elder list as well. So I'm going to say edit, category, elder, then click OK. So now I have two elder subgroups in the elder category. So I'm going to close that and reopen my subgroup list. And then if I go to my category filter and go to elder, I'm going to see those two subgroups. So instead of going through the whole list, I can jump straight to those subgroups. Then if I want to see Elder Abbott's absentees, I can go to people, and I can see those individuals who haven't been here in 3 months. And then over here on the right-hand side, I'll be able to give them a phone call, talk to them, and just see what's going on. So let me go ahead and go back to subgroups. You do still have the ability to preview a report of those people, so preview. Then it would show me these individuals. And if I wanted to do mailing labels, I could click labels, and that would allow me to create mailing labels. So that's how you utilize the new subgroups. Let me close this. The other parts are very similar still, like static. The buttons are a little different, but the workflow is the same. You'll move the names from left to right. Let me cancel that. And with combined, just the same, where you have subgroup name. You do have category now where you can group it together. But start with, and then you'd use the plus or minus to add in or subtract people based on another subgroup. So that part hasn't changed. So let me click cancel. And nope, I don't want to save those. Or cancel. Yes, I want to close that out. Okay, so let's take a look at the youth list report. So if you're part of the LCMS, they have a youth list report. And we found out that the software was calculating or taking a look at their graduate year, but as we all know, sometimes you graduate early or sometimes you graduate a little later than you had planned. With that case, we found a way to we found a way to be able to include or exclude people who may or may not be graduating at the time that we thought. So like if I go to Jacob here, so I'm inside of the people grid, and actually I want to close this here. I'm so used to clicking on the P to open up the people grid that I go to that just naturally. But you may want to use the tree here on the left-hand side, or you may already use the tree here on the left-hand side. And with the tree, you can click, and then you can select somebody's name. And it works a little bit faster. It's a little easier to use. Now, with Jacob, what you'll notice is when you go to Work School tab here, that the graduation year is automatically filled in. So when you go and you upgrade the database by installing the latest version of the software, the system is going to take a look at the person's birthday, and it's going to calculate the graduation year. And then that's going to, you can use that for whatever you want it to. You can print it on reports. If you're with the LCMS, you can run the LCMS Youth List report. So one of the questions may be, well, how do I get to that report? And to access the LCMS Youth List report, let me OK this, and I'm going to go to the main Shepherd Staff screen. And here on the main screen, I'm going to go to Utilities and go to Settings. So inside of Shepherd Staff, there are different editions, and those editions are based on denominations. To switch your denomination, you can go to System, and you can select the denomination that you want from the drop list. And I'm going to select Lutheran. Then from there, it's going to warn me about making these changes because since each denomination has its own terminology, you could make changes and give yourself terminology that you don't want for your received by and removed by fields. So I'm going to say yes, and please restart Shepherd Staff, and I'll say OK. So that's one change that you have to make is you have to select the correct edition, but also if you go to church, you have to change the denomination to LCMS. And click OK. So then you'll notice Lutheran Edition here at the upper right hand corner. And from there you can go back into membership and you can go to reports, and underneath reports you'll have your Youth List LCMS report. And I'm going to double click on that report. It's going to warn me about getting a password. You do have to have a unique password for your church to be able to email this information over to rosters and statistics. So I'm going to click OK. You can contact us at 1-800-346-6120 to get that password. Type the password in here, click Continue, and not valid. Yes. Click Continue. Oh, it's not going to let me show the drop list. You can inside the drop list, you'll have several different options. You'll be able to email it. You'll be able to extract it to Excel and extract it to text files. So there are some choices there as well. So if your email won't connect with Shepherd Staff, you could export it to Excel, save that file, attach it to an email, then email it over to rosters and statistics yourself. Okay, so I'm going to close the LCMS Youth List report, and I'm going to double click on the ELCA report here. And with that report, you'll notice at the top it now says Form A. In this most recent release, the programmers have gone in and updated the software so that it matches with the statistics from the most recent ELCA report, the one from 2015. So now it says Form A. All the calculations match. There are these like question mark buttons and I buttons. Like the question mark will show you the criteria, and actually you'll see how it says end of 2014. When you're using this report, I'm going to click OK here, you do want to make sure that the reporting year on the church tab is correct. So we're doing as of 2016, save and calculate. Then when you went to membership, you can click on the question marks and those will show you the calculations. And if you want to see those individuals, you can click on the I and it'll show you those individuals. So like this says from sources and statistical adjustments. So from other sources and statistical adjustments. So other is one of those categories that doesn't give you a clear picture of how they joined the church, so they want us to notify people about those. So you would go in and look at David, Shirley, and Katrina and figure out how they really did join the church, update their information, save and recalculate, and then they'll fall within one of these top 4. Okay, so I'm going to close the ELCA report here. And next, let's take a look at the changes in attendance. So I'm going to close membership and go into attendance. Okay, and in attendance, the first thing that we're going to take a look at is going to be the attendance by event report. So I'm going to go to reports, and underneath reports, I'm going to select the attendance by event report. And they've really kind of built this report up. For the longest time, this report was used just to find people who had attended an event or to see the events that people did attend. So, you know, you could do a combination of days or over a time period and gather information about that. Now, here on the left-hand side, they've added one person, one household list and grade so that you could narrow down your results and find fewer people without having to use a subgroup to do so. We've also added in some filters, current members only and non-members only. On the right-hand side, there's group by, and with group by, you always had the ability to group by attendee and group by event, but now you can group by event and age group. So it gives you the ability to see analytical data, kind of groupings and totals by ages and numbers. It really helps with quickly finding statistics for your church attendance. Underneath other, there's some other groupings as well. So there's strictly by age group, ethnic origin, gender, marital status, membership code, and participation. Then, and I'm going to put this back on attendee here at the top. Now, when you're on attendee, we've kind of given you the ability now to make this a contact report. So you can see gender and age. You can also see cell phone and email address. So if the person's attendance is sporadic or something, you'd have that information there to be able to contact them. Then if we go to event, that will turn on the attendee name. So there's some flexibility there. So I'm going to go back to attendee and then include the additional information and click preview. Please select one attendance type, which is correct. I need to select worship and communion. Then click preview. And then I'd be able to preview the report and see how many people attended in the time frame that I've selected. But I'd also be able to see cell phone numbers if they had email addresses, and I'd be able to see that, see the event. So it works out really well. So I'm going to close this report and close the attendance by event report. Now, the other two reports that I mentioned that there was some small changes there. It's the absentee report, and the small change that was made is here at the lower right where it says hide inactive accounts. So before here in the list, you'd see all the inactive accounts with the active accounts, which can make your list pretty long. So by checking the box for hide inactive accounts, you just exclude them from your options. Let me close absentees. The same thing has been done to the attendance comparison report. And with that, they've added the hide inactive events. So in both of them, you can now do that. You can hide the inactive events. Let me close the attendance reports here and close the attendance module and go into contributions. Now with contributions, the two changes that we've made, one is with contribution funds. So like if you go to records and go to funds, you'll be able to see all of your contribution funds. And over the years, you've been able to see 3 years worth of contributions. What they did was add in 3 more years. So now you can really see a trend or a pattern. So you'll see a 5-year trend, and then you'll be able to see how much has been given for the current year as well. So you can kind of plan. So if I see there's 15,000 that's been given so far to the general fund, but with 2016 we ended up at 245,000, 15 253,000, 14 254,000. I can kind of see that we're actually trending down in giving now. So we may not make that 269,000 that we saw in 2012. So that's one change there. The other changes relate to the contribution statements. To access contribution statements, you'll go to Reports, and underneath Reports, you're going to see the statements and mailing labels previewable. The big change that we made inside of this report is that we lengthen the field for your message. So whenever you print out your contribution statements at the end of the year, you're going to include an IRS tax message. So currently we don't have any messages in our software, but I'm going to show you how to add one. So I'm going to go to Messages, and I'm going to click on the Add button here on the right hand side, and I'm going to title my message IRS tax message. Then at this point I can type in my IRS tax message: no goods or services ... But the problem people were having is they were running out of space to type in the like contact information or follow-up information. So they would add something: please call, and I'm going to use a fake phone number here, 314-555-5555. Please call this number if you have any questions about your statement. Okay, so then at that point you'll notice here it says message up to 1,000 characters. So the change they made the field actually larger, but also they added in the ability to give, or the ability to submit carriage returns. So I'm going to click on Select here, and I'm going to preview my statement. So with the carriage returns, if you want to put a space between your IRS tax message and your contact us please message, then you'd be able to do so, and it would insert everything in there. So no more cutoff messages or anything like that. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close this. The other change with contribution statements is the fact that they've eliminated the statements previewable. So about, let's see, this is almost 15 years ago, so this is 2017. Back in 2001, they created what they called the previewable statements, what we're seeing right here. And at that point in time, they were thinking about getting rid of the classic statements. And over the years, they left it in there for backwards compatibility. And this is the year that they've decided to eliminate those old classic statements. The reason why they created the previewable ones was to be able to preview the statements before you printed them, but we know there were still people using the old classic statements. So you'll no longer be able to use the old classic statements, and you'll need to use the previewable statements going forward. So let me close that and close, and I'm going to close contributions as well. Now the final module to take a look at is going to be finance, and inside the finance module there's three things to show you here. And first is we've made changes to the buttons here for our chart of accounts drop-down list. So those look a little different, but they have the exact same function. So you can collapse all minor groups, or you can expand all minor groups. Collapse and expand. Then you can also collapse all the branches or expand all the branches as well. So that's changed just a little bit with the new buttons. If you edit an account, you can click on the account, click on the little pencil down here. One change that they did was they added the little X's here on the right hand side. And we noticed that it's somewhat difficult to get rid of the major groups or minor groups. So once you have them in there, getting rid of them can be a little difficult. So we added the little X's where you can just delete those out of there. then you can click OK and save it if you wanted to get rid of them, or if you wanted to add in, let me click on the little pencil again, to add in a new major group or a new minor group, you could type in type in the number, then sample major, and then we can do the same here, 0, 1, sample minor. Click the floppy disk on both of them, then click OK, and it would create those new major groups and minor groups. So we hope that that saves a little bit of time there and a little bit of frustration. Okay, so the next thing I'd like to take a look at is going to be the journal register report. We had several requests on filtering inside the journal register report, and we had requests, well, they're both tied to filtering actually. So if I go to reports and go to the journal register report, click select, and inside the journal register report you can now filter based on a number. So every single journal that's entered into the system has a number. You can filter based on the number, and you can filter based on whether or not it's an EFT or a non-vendor journal. So they're both about filtering, but it's the ability to help you get just the journal entries you want. So the report hasn't changed. I'm going to uncheck these so I don't trip myself up. Oh, let me go back to the prior year, then preview, and the report looks the same. It's still going to include all of your line items for your transactions. The only difference is now if I just wanted to see 128, I could look at journal entry number 128. Or if I just wanted to see one for a certain vendor or 4 vendors, I could do that as well. Okay. So the final thing to show you here in the software is the new help system. We haven't eliminated the old help system yet, so if you go to user guide, you'll still be able to pull up the older help system, but we've added in the newer help system. So if you go to help and go to web users guide, then inside this window, and we were just in finance, so I can go to finance down here, I can pull up information about finance, and then I can click on any of those options and read up on that information. There's also a search box here at the upper right. So I just did budgets, say accounts receivable. And then I could search, how about just accounts? Enter, and I'd be able to search at that point. So we hope everybody likes it. It is web-based, and we'll be updating it as we go. So we're really excited about that. Okay, so let's go ahead and switch back to my PowerPoint, and let's go ahead and go into our question and answer session. Before people start dropping off, I do want to thank everybody for attending today's Shepherd Staff webinar. We truly hope you enjoyed the session, and if you have any questions outside of the question and answer session, please give us a call at 1-800-346-6120, and you could shoot us an email at support@cts.cph.org. Okay, and I'll go ahead and answer the questions. Thank you for posting them. I really appreciate it. Question number 1 from Karen. I received an email on January 13th stating that my update CD had been mailed. I have not received it yet. Should I be concerned? Let's see, today's date. Today's the 25th, so we're not quite 2 weeks yet, and they said give it 2 to 3 weeks to receive it. So I wouldn't be concerned yet. If you don't receive it in a week, 7 more days, give us a call, and either like I was saying, you can download the, we can send the information over to you, can download and install it that way. We can mail you out another disc, however you'd want to proceed from there. Next question is from Sherry. Hello, Sherry. If you install the program on the server machine, do you still have to install it on each separate computer? You do have to install it on each one of the satellite computers, yes. So you'll want to make sure you're logged out of the software when you install on those machines. Next question is from Sherry as well. Is there a way to do a save as with a subgroup? Sometimes we have a subgroup and want to duplicate it and add another line or two to narrow it down. In the past, we changed the subgroup name and lines and chose save as, but I don't see that option anymore. Let's see. I don't think that option is still there. Subgroups. There is not a save as button. Let me see. I wonder if I use import export, what will happen? Enter a file name. Test. Export the active member subgroup, yes. Finished. Import, yes. Specified import file does not have a valid file ID. I will have to pass that on. The utility does not transfer the people, it transfers the criteria. I will have to pass that on to the programmers as a programmers and development team as a suggestion, and I'll also pass on the import export thing that's going on there, because that should import as well. Okay, sorry about the inconvenience there. Let's see. The next question is from Diane. Can you export the contribution funds to Excel for graph creation? Yes, you can. So inside of, we're in attendance right now. I'm going to go into contributions. And inside of contributions, if you go to your records and funds, then down at the lower right, there's a export to spreadsheet icon. Once you had that information in Excel, then you'd have the ability to create your own graphs at that point in time. Let's see. The next question is from Stuart. The question is, how do we go about training our people on the WebTools? I guess there's a couple options. I am going to post this video on YouTube here shortly after it converts and downloads, so they could watch that. If you like, we could set up a time and we could connect to your computer and show everybody how to use it. Either way would work. I think both of those are probably suitable, but you could let us know and we can go from there. So you could shoot me an email at rod.kiles@cph.org and we can set something up. The next question is from Deb. In attendance on the web, can you enter communion attendees separately for those who did not commune? Or do you have to uncheck those who did not commune in the bottom section? So if you had, I'm thinking you'd probably have a separate event, and with that separate event you would have to go down to the bottom and uncheck those who worship, or just select those people, then go down to the bottom and unselect those people as worshiping. So and I think the only little nuance would be if you had an event that was just a communion event, then you wouldn't have to uncheck anything because it would only mark them as communion. So maybe the best bet would be going forward would be to create a separate event just for communion. Then when you posted that, you wouldn't have to uncheck anything. Okay, hopefully that helps you out there, Deb. Oh, you're welcome, Sherry. I'll definitely send that over. Okay. Well, I will hold on for a few moments here, and if there aren't any other questions, I will sign off. Oh, there's another question from Deb. Is the new version compatible with Office 64-bit? No, the software is still 32-bit. That's something that they're working on with some type of rewrite in the future. So at some point in time, they will get it to be 64-bit, but this release is not. This release is still only 32-bit compatible. Okay, well, if there aren't any other questions, I hope everybody has a wonderful afternoon, wonderful evening. I will go ahead and end the session and talk to everybody soon. Rod Kiles, signing off.